on that as we go through. Overall position in terms of the headlines, the gap over the next 4 years is looking at like 11 million at the moment. That's based on the assumptions and the pressures that are outlined in the report. For next year, the 16-17 position then there's a gap of 6.3 million. We'd already identified savings in previous work we'd done on the MTFP of 844,000. But the savings that you've got in front of you and other select committees will be looking at total 3.3 million at the moment. We have some council tax income, extra income coming in as well, but that still leaves a gap for next year at the moment of 1.7 million. So today really is about you understanding the context, the pressures and the assumptions in the overall budget, for you to scrutinise the areas and the budget mandates that are relevant to this select committee. And if you've got any other ideas that are going to help us meet that 1.7 million gap, obviously those will be gratefully received as well. There are a lot of mandates to get through this morning, so I'll leave it there. Unless you want to ask me any questions, I'll hand it over to the officers to take you through the mandates.
Okay, thanks for that, Joy. On your papers this morning, we have 3.4 expenditure assumptions. We've got pay award of 1% increase except for schools. Could I be clear then, all the reorganisation we've had over the last 6 to 12 months, we will have had new terms of reference set up for employees, etc. Have we calculated in their spinal column increases as well in all this? Because everybody will have a spinal column increase, so they're on the bottom level with a new brief, let's say. It means then they will all have an increased rise as well to the next spinal column. Where do we get that money from reference to that? Does that come, is that built into the directorate's budget somewhere along the line, or is it something we just take and absorb within the directorates?
We've never historically budgeted for incremental increases in salary, either in schools or in the rest of the authority, so that's not included in the budget. That's something that budget holders are expected to make efficiency savings in order to accommodate that.
Okay. Sarah?
Just for clarity, can I confirm then that after the budget consultation process has ended, that the mandates will come back again to scrutiny, or is this our final scrutiny session?
I think we've got till the end of November, but we have to make responses by the end of November. We will make some responses today, and I think if you see some of the mandates, they actually are work in progress. So it may be we may have to put another meeting in between now and the end of November. Am I right, Phil, 30th November?
Yes, Chair.
Okay, so we will possibly, if requested, have to come back and probably go through some of these other mandates. It may be they are struggling with some of them, who knows? But I will, or members, observe. If you're not happy, we'll have to call another meeting and probably re-question how you're going to achieve your target of your saving. Okay? No? Right. Let's get into it then. I've got B2, Rationalisation Business Support Teams. Tracy, it's one of yours. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Very quickly then, this is looking at the moment I'm doing a desktop exercise. I'm looking at all posts across the authority that have either admin or business support in their title. Initially, I'm looking for any vacant posts that are currently not filled and that don't actually need to be filled, and that would make an easy saving to make and actually removing those from the establishment. I'm also looking at opportunities where we can rationalise and bring some business support teams together. So I'm working with colleagues in other directorates on that. And finally, this mandate will also look at the potential of where we've got offices like Mega. If we lease those offices to external independent commercial businesses, is there any opportunity for us to provide business support through the likes of printing, reception services, postages, etc. Happy to take any questions, Chair.
Okay. Anybody any questions for Tracy? Val?
Not a question, only a comment, Chairman, that I don't feel that I'm familiar enough with the layout, the staffing structures, to really make a judgment on this. I think there is capacity that can be developed, but I haven't got a knowledge of employees, the structure of the council, so I have a problem.
Thanks for that, Val. I mean, currently I'm doing the desktop exercise, and what's very clear, and from my own services, is that admin and business support means very different things across the entire authority. And what you would call admin isn't traditional admin as I would remember it, in terms of somebody that does printing, postage, photocopying, all of that sort of thing. Because of the reduction in budgets across the services already, some of those admin staff are actually doing operational work as well. So it's not an easy case to just say, okay, that's admin, that's admin, that's admin. I actually am having to look at each of the posts to understand what they're doing before I can even think about looking at how we can do it better or more efficiently. So it's quite a significant exercise.
Chairman, if I can, I appreciate it's a significant exercise and I welcome it. But as I say, as a member, I don't know the structure of this council. I don't know the staffing, and it's something that I've been appealing for some time, that we have a comprehensive. So best of luck with your job.
Yeah, two questions, if that's okay. Firstly, how have we arrived at the figure of 50k? I understand that it's in very early stages, so it's probably very difficult to quantify that. And the second is around some of the options that have been disregarded and not progressed. The outsourcing business support or collaborating with other local authorities, is that definitely a no-go in terms of the collaborating with other local authorities? Because that to me would seem like a potential option in terms of trying to pool business support around our neighbouring authorities.
I think the difficulty that we've got is because some of the other business mandates are looking at collaborative working around shared back office services, which will include admin support. So I would expect that bit of business support admin would be included in a collaborative mandate. So the work that's going on around back offices, you're frowning, perhaps I'm not making myself clear, would be included in that. So there is a scope for collaborative work around admin support, around some specific services. But for the purpose of this mandate, I'm really only looking at internally that areas that we're not looking to collaborate on at the moment. Does that make it clear?
And the 50k at the moment?
50k, it's finger in the air.
So
Okay. It could be more. Okay, thank you.
Councillor Easton.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. This report to me at the moment is quite vague. It doesn't say a lot. It just says 50,000k. It doesn't really tell me where the levels of savings you're looking to make are to be. It's not just going to be one little narrow area. You mentioned Innovation House in Mega. That's not really indicated in this report. So unless we get more meat on the bone of your savings, I can't really make any comments in terms of supporting or otherwise or scrutinising the points you're making. So I feel it's at this moment in time, Joy mentioned the fact that a lot of it is work in progress. We need a bit more meat on the bone as far as I'm concerned on this one.
Yeah, Tracy. Yeah, I think that's recognised with probably quite a lot of these mandates, that they are work in progress, Tony. And like I said, to answer Councillor Jones's question is if we have to come back, if there's a lot more meat put on, we're going to have to come back. So we'll judge that as members as well, and you give me the signal. If you feel that you need to bring some of these back at a later date, we will do it. Okay? You happy with that, Tony? Yeah. Okay. Right.
Okay, thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Right, Rob, I think we've got you as next, B7.
Thank you, Chairman. This mandate is still quite in the planning stage of this, and no pun intended here. The idea behind this is that there may be public service organisations that will require and would like to use our legal service. One of which in particular is Melin Homes, And in particular there is us giving advice on planning agreements for them. There are a couple of unknowns within this mandate. The first of is just how much work there is potentially to come from Melin and other public service organisations. The figure of £25,000 has been put in the mandate. That very much is a best guesstimate, I think, at this stage. And secondly, then, depending on the amount of work that this may generate, it may be that we'll have to become a bigger legal service here at Monmouthshire. We are a very small department, probably along with Merthyr, the smallest legal department in Wales. So there are a couple of unknowns here, but I've just met Melin once, and that was back in the summer, so I'm obviously going to have to meet them again now to see what they require specifically, and whether or not we can give them the service that they require. But in theory, it seems to me to be a good idea. Of course, Chairman, any further questions from members, I'll take them in due course.
Thanks, Rob. Councillor Easton.
Yeah, thank you once again, Chair. Thank you, Robert. I notice on page 3 of the 7, you say there's little capacity within the current team to undertake the additional work, which says to me, really, you ain't got the people here to do the work that you're looking to take on. But you may have to take on some more employees. Putting that into mathematics, you're trying to look and make a savings of about 5% on your budget of £500,000. To take on another employee to carry out legal works, maybe 2 employees, you need to me to be taking in over £100,000 worth of work from an outside body. You're not sure where you stand on this yet, because you've only met this one potential provider, which is Melin. To me, you need a good number more areas of employment to make it viable, in my mind, for you to be then able to employ more people, which by the time on costs come on, it could make the whole exercise negligible.
That's a very fair point, Councillor Easton. And until I know what Melin wants, what they require, I'll then be in a better position to say, well, yeah, we can do that already. We've got sufficient resources to do that, or we will need more resources. Until I get talking to these individual organisations, Councillor Easton, I won't be able to give a more accurate figure until those discussions take place. But very fair comments, yeah.
Okay, thanks, Rob. I got Sarah, I got David, and then Val.
Yeah, my point's echoed very much Councillor Easton's. Until we've mapped out the whole process, we don't really know the appetite within the marketplace. But it, in principle, really support the opportunity that could be here. But it was just to question other public service providers, legal teams within maybe other authorities, to what extent are they already providing this sort of advice to public service providers? So is there a success model that we can look at in neighbouring authorities or other areas?
Thanks, Councillor Jones. Not so much in immediate neighbouring teams, so the likes of Torfaen, Blaenau, Gwent, Newport. But further wide, for example, Kent County Council, they've got a massive legal team, and they've actually created a trading arm. But we're talking there, I think, in the region of about 70 to 100 lawyers. So it's a massive undertaking. Essex is another model that have done it. And then there's a different model to the Kent-Essex model where councils have amalgamated to become a single legal team. And that's happened, for example, in Lincolnshire with Lincoln County Council or Lincolnshire and the various district councils under them. So there are various models, and in fact, it's collaboration is something that my colleagues and I and other councils, our neighbours, have discussed for some time. But unfortunately, we just can't seem quite to crack it, because personally speaking, I think it's the way forward. If we could collaborate, because we'd have a bigger mass then, and therefore, if there are other public bodies out there that want our legal services, then we'll be in a better position to provide them. So it seems to me to be a bit of a win-win, but it's getting, it's like everything, Councillor Jones. It's trying to get it done is the difficulty. But certainly, it's for me, it's a good idea.
Councillor Dovey.
Thank you, Chairman. This is down the path that I was going to follow up. The only point I would make is, are we going through a process at the moment of identifying who we think our potential customers might be? So we got an idea whether it be housing associations or fellow councils or that sort of thing. Are we doing an exercise to identify what we think the potential market could be, and are we exploring whether those people would be interested as well? That's the only point I would want to add. Identify the market and...
Okay, I got Councillor Smith, and then you can answer, Rob, is it? Yeah.
Yes, Chairman. I think the increase in expertise in-house could be welcomed if you can make it pay. At the same time, Chairman, there's been reference to Melin, I declare a personal non-prejudicial interest, okay?
That's
But
okay.
the proposal, I think, has got merit. The expertise here that we could draw on, and if you can sell it elsewhere, that could be good.
Okay. Kelly, you just wanted to come in there on something?
If I can just, Chair, if I can just make a comment about some wider principles around income generation here, because I think as members you've supported the need for us to be much more aggressive when it comes to income generation as we look forward. And just a couple of weeks ago, Cabinet actually approved the income optimisation strategy that Joy and I put together. And I think it's a difficult thing, isn't it? Because when you do look at generating income in new markets, yes, you can look to examples. Yes, you can do the mapping out. Yes, you can do as much preparatory work as is possible, as you've said, Councillor Smith. But sometimes you just have to speculate to accumulate. And I think, yes, we can go into this process reasonably confident. But actually, until we get into it, and until we prove concept, and until we've got a happy customer, and if we've got one customer coming forward, which is a registered local social landlord, then that's great. But really, I think you need to sort of prove concept, have those credentials and track record, able to perhaps respond to a wider market need. I think the big issue for me is, from a planning perspective, we're going to be building 5,000 new homes over the next 10 years. You know, huge amounts of affordable housing, lots of legal agreements, community infrastructure levy, Section 106. There has to be an opportunity there, even beyond social landlords. So I think Rob needs to be applauded for this, because it's quite a brave step forward. It may require some investment, but we won't know how that pays off until, I suppose, we get a couple of years in.
Season, I'll let you back into it.
Yeah, just some clarification from Rob. Rob comes to us today with two hats on, one the monitoring officer and second the legal officer. I presume that the monitoring officer's role in this is not part of this. I know you've got that role, but that wouldn't be part of you looking at the wider scheme in terms of collaboration with other authorities, which could really lead to, in my mind, a standalone legal trading company within those authorities. But would that take the monitor officer's role out of that?
Yeah, that's a good question. When we looked at this in the past, it was decided that the monitoring officer role would stay with, if you like, with the parent council. So that wouldn't move. So that's the monitoring officer would stay with the council. Councillor Devy's point about sort of finding out what the market is, that work is at a very early stage yet, Councillor Devy, and of course we need to find out, you know, who's out there, who's interested in doing this, and that is the starting point, quite.
Okay. Councillor White.
Yes, I think this is going to be a big business if it comes to fruition. Are you going to take on any consultation, any people to help you find your customers? Is this going to make another role for you in your department, or have you got enough personnel to do that.
Thanks, Councillor White. Never enough people in legal services, Councillor White, but no, at this stage, I think I'll be having to do this myself to sort of meet these individual organisations, and just to see where it develops. And if I need further help, then hopefully that help will be made available by the council if necessary. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Can I just ask a quick question, Rob? We have tried this before. I'm sure our previous Mr. Andrews, we had an agreement with the National Parks for some time, where Mr. Andrews and then you covered for Mr. Andrews. So